If you're a chosen one, don't reveal these secrets. There's a strange kind of silence that follows you when you're different, when you carry something inside you that others can't quite understand. You walk through the world with a sense of purpose that doesn't make sense to most people. You feel things others ignore. You hear what others can't. You know things that were never taught to you. If this resonates with you, you may already know you are one of the chosen. But being chosen is not about glory. It's not about power. It's not about standing on a stage or receiving applause. In fact, if you are truly chosen, you will often be misunderstood, doubted, criticized, and even feared. There's a heavy price that comes with carrying divine insight, spiritual responsibility, or simply a deeper awareness of life's hidden currents. And one of the greatest temptations you'll face is the desire to explain yourself, especially when others question you, mock you, or dismiss your experiences. You'll want to defend your visions, justify your gifts, and maybe even prove that you are not crazy. But here's the truth that few will tell you. There are some secrets you must never reveal. In a world obsessed with exposure, likes, shares, and transparency, there is a quiet strength in restraint. There is wisdom in silence. There is power in knowing when to speak and when to guard what has been given to you. Not everything sacred is meant to be shared. Not every revelation is meant for public consumption. Some truths are so profound, so pure, that speaking them too soon, or to the wrong people, can actually distort their meaning and drain their power. The spiritual path is not a popularity contest. It's a lonely road at times, paved with tests, attacks, and strange blessings. But it's also a journey of becoming. And on this journey, you'll discover that keeping your secrets isn't about deception, it's about protection. Protection of your calling, your growth, and the divine assignment on your life. You were not given insight to entertain. You were given it to transform. This speech is not for everyone. It's not for the curious. It's for those who've walked through fire without explanation. It's for those who have dreams they can't put into words, a pain they can't always trace, and a power they can't fully explain. It's for those who feel deeply, see clearly, and yet remain silent, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. So if you are one of the chosen, listen carefully. Over the next 4 parts, we will walk together through the unseen laws that govern your path. We will expose the dangers of overexposure. We will explore why secrecy is sacred. And most importantly, we will learn what to protect at all costs. Because some things were given to you not to be shared, but to be lived, embodied, and guarded with everything you have. The weight of being chosen. To be chosen is not something you apply for. It's not something you earn through effort, degrees, or applause. It's something marked on your spirit before birth, etched into the very essence of who you are. But most people don't understand what it truly means. They think being chosen is about favor, about blessings, about standing in the light. They imagine it's about being celebrated. They don't see the burden. They don't feel the weight. They don't live the isolation that comes with it. If you are truly chosen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've walked into rooms and felt like a stranger, even among your own family. You've tried to explain your inner world to others, only to be met with blank stares or quiet judgment. You've had dreams, visions, spiritual encounters that you dared to speak of, only to find people calling you crazy, delusional, or just too much. Over time, you learned to shrink. You learned to stay quiet. But the truth didn't go away. It still lives inside you, louder than ever. The chosen are not here for comfort. They are here for calling. They carry divine assignments that most of the world will never understand. And with that assignment comes a deep loneliness, one that can't be filled by distractions, entertainment, or even relationships. The chosen often find themselves misunderstood, not because they are unclear, but because they see too clearly. They are too awake in a world that prefers sleep, too deep in a world that worships the shallow. You see, the moment you begin to awaken to who you are, the attacks start. Not always physical, not always obvious, but subtle, energetic, emotional. Your peace is disturbed. Your relationships shift. People who once liked you begin to feel uncomfortable around you. They don't even know why. They just sense something they can't name. And many times, they turn away, not because you did something wrong, but because your light exposes something in them they'd rather not confront. This is the weight of being chosen, the realization that your presence alone can trigger resistance, that your very being disrupts the status quo, that you don't even have to try to offend people. Your truth is offense enough. And this, my friend, is where many chosen ones make their first mistake. They try to explain. They try to justify. They open up about their dreams, their visions, their divine encounters, thinking that honesty will bring them connection. But instead, it brings more isolation. You must understand, some things are too sacred to share with the uninitiated. Not because you are better than them, not because you want to exclude them, but because sacred truths require sacred space. They require readiness. They require maturity. You don't pour vintage wine into plastic cups. You don't cast pearls before swine. Not because the pearls aren't beautiful, but because they will be trampled, misunderstood, and ultimately desecrated. As a chosen one, you must develop spiritual discretion. You must learn to protect your inner life from casual exposure. Just because you feel deeply doesn't mean everyone is ready to hear what you feel. Just because you know something spiritually doesn't mean it should be spoken out loud. There are divine timings, divine restrictions, and divine reasons why some revelations are meant to stay within until the world is ready, or until your assignment demands you speak. When you carry a great calling, you will often be called to silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of wisdom. The silence of someone who knows what they carry. Someone who no longer needs to prove their insight, their power, or their favor. That kind of silence carries weight. It's the kind that speaks without speaking. It's the kind that shifts rooms before words are ever said. But getting to that place is not easy. You will first experience the sting of betrayal. The sting of telling your truth to someone you trusted, only to watch them use it against you. You will learn, often through pain, that not everyone who smiles is safe. Not everyone who listens is loyal. Not everyone who calls themselves spiritual is aligned with spirit. And while these lessons will hurt, they are necessary initiations into a deeper kind of strength. The strength that comes from discernment. The strength that comes from holding your sacred truths close, not out of shame, but out of reverence. You must also resist the urge to seek validation. This is one of the greatest traps for the chosen. Because the journey is lonely, because the world doesn't see you clearly, there's a deep hunger to be understood, to be seen, to be affirmed. But if you chase validation, you will water down your message, soften your truth, and eventually betray your purpose just to be accepted. And that is a betrayal your soul cannot afford. The chosen are not here to fit in. They are here to awaken, to disturb, to ignite, to heal. And often, that means walking a path that others won't applaud until much later, if ever. So carry your calling with humility, but also with boldness. Learn to be okay with being misunderstood. Learn to smile in silence when others question your path. Learn to let God, or the universe, or whatever divine force you serve, defend you in ways your words never could. And above all, learn the value of secrecy. Not secrecy rooted in fear, but in wisdom, in sacred protection. Because when you protect the mystery, you protect the power. When you hold back what is holy, you allow it to mature inside of you, gaining strength, clarity, and direction. Eventually, when the time is right, your life will speak louder than your lips ever could. This is the weight of being chosen. And if you carry it with reverence. Not everyone will understand you, but the ones who are meant to will. And that is enough. The hidden laws that protect you. There is a code written into the lives of the chosen. It's not taught in schools. It's not found in books. It's not explained in sermons. And yet, it exists. Ancient, invisible, and deeply spiritual. These are the hidden laws that govern your journey, that protect your calling, and that shield your soul from destruction. Break these laws, and you will feel it. Not always in ways that others can see, but in the quiet unraveling of your peace, your clarity, and your connection to the divine. Honor these laws, and you will walk through fire untouched, through storms unharmed, and through betrayal undefeated. The first hidden law is this: silence is your shield. In a world addicted to noise, silence is your most dangerous weapon. Not because you are hiding, not because you are weak, but because silence is the language of power. When you remain quiet about what God is doing in your life, you preserve the sacredness of it. You allow it to grow without outside interference. You protect it from being spoken against, twisted, mocked, or misunderstood. Not everything needs an announcement. Some of your biggest breakthroughs must remain in the shadows until they are too large to deny. Let your transformation speak for itself. Let your fruit be your evidence. Let your peace be your response. The second law is this: obedience over explanation. When you're chosen, you will be called to do things that make no sense to others. You will be told to move when the world says stay. You will be guided to speak when silence is expected, and to stay silent when the world demands a voice. People will ask you why. They will press for answers. And here is where many chosen ones stumble. They try to explain spiritual instruction in natural terms. But the spiritual realm doesn't operate by public opinion. When you receive divine direction, it is not your job to explain it. It is your job to obey it. Obedience protects your assignment. Explanation often exposes it to doubt, resistance, and delay. The third hidden law: not everyone can walk with you. This is one of the hardest truths for the chosen to accept. You love deeply. You see the best in people. You want to bring everyone with you. But elevation requires separation. There are some people who cannot go where you are going, not because they are bad, but because they are not built for your path. They won't understand the sacrifices you're called to make. They won't endure the spiritual warfare assigned to your name. And if you force their presence, they will become the very weight that slows your rise. Let go in love. Release without bitterness. Trust that God is aligning your circle with precision, not sentiment. Another law: don't reveal what's still in progress. The chosen are often given glimpses of the future. You see visions. You receive revelations. You feel stirrings of things that have not yet manifested. And in your excitement, in your desire to share, you may be tempted to speak too soon. Don't. The enemy listens, too. And premature exposure can invite premature attack. Keep your process private. Guard your vision while it's still forming. Let it mature in the dark, like a seed in the soil. There will be a time for harvest, but not everything should be posted, published, or preached before it's ready. Divine timing matters. Trust it. The fifth law: protect your energy like sacred oil. As a chosen one, you carry something sacred. Your presence shifts rooms. Your prayers move mountains. Your words carry weight. But that power comes with a price. It can be drained. It can be misused. It can be contaminated if you're not careful. Stop giving your energy to people who only take. Stop pouring into environments that dishonor your gift. Stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is your oil. It fuels your calling. Protect it. Conserve it. Pour it only where God leads you to. There's another law, one many overlook. Your gift is not your identity. Just because you're gifted doesn't mean you're invincible. Just because you're called doesn't mean you won't feel weak. The chosen often struggle silently because the world expects them to always be strong, always have answers, always carry light. But behind the scenes, you may battle anxiety, depression, loneliness, even doubt. This doesn't make you less chosen. It makes you human. The hidden law here is to stay rooted in your essence, not your performance. You are loved, not because of your power, but because of your soul. Rest in that. Heal in that. Do not allow your gift to become your prison. And perhaps the most sobering law: you are being watched. Not just by people, but by spirits. Your life carries weight in the unseen realm. Every decision you make sends a signal of strength or weakness, obedience or rebellion. When you complain, heaven hears it. When you betray your purpose, darkness celebrates it. You are in a battle far bigger than what's visible. And that means your discipline, your consistency, your integrity matter more than you know. The hidden law is spiritual responsibility. Walk with awareness. Walk with intention. Because your life is not just yours. It's a message, a blueprint, a weapon. So what's the purpose of all these laws? It's not to control you. It's to protect you. To protect what you carry. To protect the path you walk. To protect your future from being hijacked by premature exposure, unnecessary warfare, or avoidable distraction. These laws are not chains. They are shields. And when you begin to live by them, you unlock a deeper level of power, authority, and peace. You begin to move like someone who knows who they are, who walks with heaven's backing, and who does not waste their voice on ears that cannot hear. Because here's the truth: the more hidden you remain in the early stages, the more powerful your emergence will be. This world doesn't need more noise. It needs more depth. And the chosen ones, those who keep their secrets sacred, will be the ones who shake the foundations of the earth, not with their mouths, but with their presence. The enemies within and around. When you are chosen, The battle is not only external, it is also internal. The threats you face are not just from the outside world, but from the shadows within your own heart. It is easy to identify an enemy who wears a mask and stands in front of you. Much harder is the recognition of those who smile beside you. Or worse, the voices within you that sabotage your own destiny. Let's begin with the enemies around you. The moment you begin to walk in your calling, even if you haven't spoken a word of it, something shifts in the atmosphere. People sense it. Some are drawn to your light. Others are irritated by it. Not because you've harmed them, not because you've done anything wrong, but simply because you remind them of something they've buried, a dream they abandoned, a truth they denied, or a path they were too afraid to walk. Your very presence confronts the complacency in their soul. And because of this, some will hate you without reason. Others will pretend to love you while secretly plotting your downfall. And many more will try to attach themselves to you, not because they support your mission, but because they want access to your oil. This is why the chosen must be discerning, not desperate. You cannot afford to be lonely and reckless at the same time. You must not confuse connection with covenant. Just because someone claps for you does not mean they are for you. Just because someone asks to pray with you does not mean they carry the same spirit. The enemy is subtle. He will send people who look like allies, who talk like destiny partners, but who are secretly sent to extract your energy, derail your focus, and delay your purpose. They'll ask questions that sound innocent but are designed to probe. They'll encourage you to open up, only to later weaponize your vulnerability. Be wise. Guard your circle like your life depends on it, because it does. But while the enemies around you are dangerous, the enemies within you are often deadlier. The first of these is ego. The chosen are gifted, often in extraordinary ways. You see more, feel more, know more than the average person. And with that comes a temptation to boast, to prove, to perform. Your ego whispers, show them who you are. Make them listen. Make them respect you. But ego is a liar. It is the trapdoor to your downfall. It tells you that your gift is your identity. It seduces you into thinking that being seen is more important than being aligned. And if you're not careful, you'll begin performing for attention instead of walking in purpose. You'll become a spectacle instead of a servant. And the moment your ego takes the wheel, the spirit steps aside. The second internal enemy is fear. Yes, even the chosen wrestle with fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of losing relationships as you rise, fear of isolation. Sometimes it shows up as procrastination, other times as perfectionism. Either way, fear will disguise itself as wisdom to keep you stuck. It will tell you, wait until you're more ready, when in fact, readiness comes through the fire of obedience. If you allow fear to rule you, you'll sit on ideas meant to liberate others. You'll bury talents that were meant to build nations. You'll hide your oil while the world stars for the light you were born to give. Another internal enemy is woundedness. The pain of your past, the betrayal you never healed from, the childhood trauma you've carried like a secret weight. These wounds, if unaddressed, will become open doors. Doors through which bitterness enters. Doors through which envy creeps. Doors through which self-sabotage sneaks in, dressed as self-protection. If you don't face your pain, it will bleed into everything you touch. You will misinterpret kindness as manipulation. You will call divine opportunities too good to be true. You will isolate yourself from help sent to restore you. Healing is not optional for the chosen. It is essential, because unhealed people leak. And what you leak can ruin what you've been called to build. And let's not forget comparison, one of the most quiet but destructive enemies within. You will look at others who seem to be moving faster, shining brighter, receiving more recognition. And the enemy will whisper, see, you're behind. You're not enough. You've missed it. But you haven't. The path of the chosen is not about speed, it's about alignment. Your timeline is not their timeline. Your assignment is not their assignment. Comparison will cause you to imitate what looks successful, and in doing so, you'll abandon what makes you sacred. Stay in your lane. Trust your process. And know this, when God reveals you, it will be undeniable. But until then, protect your process in silence. So how do you fight these enemies, both internal and external? First, through discernment. Ask for it. Pray for it. Study yourself. Learn to recognize your patterns. Become a student of your own triggers. Notice when you're tempted to overshare. Pay attention to the people who suddenly appear when you're rising. Watch how people respond to your silence, not just your speaking. Discernment is the difference between elevation and destruction. Second, you fight through discipline. You cannot live like everyone else. You cannot talk like everyone else. You cannot consume the same media, engage in the same gossip, or waste time in the same distractions. You must live like someone who carries sacred cargo. You must move with intentionality, not impulse. Your discipline is your defense. Third, fight through alignment. Stay connected to the source. Whether you call it God, the divine, the universe, your strength does not come from your gift, but from your connection. When you are aligned, the right people come. The wrong people are exposed, and the internal noise becomes quiet beneath divine clarity. Finally, fight with silence. Not cowardice, but power. There is strength in refusing to explain yourself, in letting your fruit speak, in choosing not to react when others provoke you, in rising quietly while others shout for attention. The enemies within and around don't know how to handle someone who refuses to play the game. And that is your greatest weapon, divine, grounded, unshakable silence. Because you are chosen, your life is not your own. You are here to break cycles, shift atmospheres, and carry truth. But to do that, you must learn to fight not just demons in the dark, but the whispers in your soul. Not just enemies in disguise, but ego dressed as confidence. Not just the critics outside, but the inner judge that tells you you're not enough. This is the price of being chosen. But it's also the path to becoming unstoppable. Walk in power, not in pride. There comes a point on the path of the chosen when you must decide who you are becoming. Not who others say you are. Not who the past tried to label you. But who you choose to be now that you know you are marked, set apart, called. And in that moment, you will be given two doors, the door of pride and the door of power. They may look similar, but they lead to entirely different destinies. One will elevate your image. The other will empower your soul. The world loves pride. It applauds the loud. It rewards the boastful. It celebrates those who flaunt what they have, who post every victory, who speak more than they listen. But true power, divine power, moves differently. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need validation to be real. It is quiet. It is steady. It is rooted. If you are truly chosen, you will reach a level of awareness where you realize you no longer need to be seen because you are sent. And that is enough. But let's be honest, pride is seductive, especially when you've been overlooked for years, when you've had to stay silent while others were celebrated, when your gifts were ignored, your voice dismissed, your path questioned. The temptation is real, to come out swinging, to prove everyone wrong, to finally show the world just how powerful you are. But that's not power. That's reaction. That's ego wearing the mask of confidence. That's a wounded heart begging to be heard. Don't fall for it. If you walk in pride, your platform will grow faster than your character can sustain. You may gain followers, but you'll lose alignment. You may win applause, but you'll miss the whisper of God that only comes in silence. And over time, the very gift that elevated you will begin to collapse under the weight of your own image. Because pride demands constant feeding. It requires performance. And performance is exhausting. But when you walk in power, rooted in humility, grounded in truth, you don't perform. You embody. You don't chase stages. You carry presence. You don't force doors open. They open at your arrival. The difference between pride and power is this. Pride speaks to be heard. Power speaks to bring change. Pride shows off. Power shows up. Pride competes. Power completes. You were never meant to prove your worth. You were meant to walk in it. Quietly, boldly, unshaken. One of the most powerful people you'll ever meet is not the one who posts the most, shouts the loudest, or gathers the biggest crowd. It's the one who walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without saying a word. The one who lives in such alignment with their purpose that their actions echo louder than any speech. That is the power of the chosen. But it only comes when you die to your need to be noticed. You don't need to tell people you're anointed. You don't need to explain your calling. You don't need to argue with critics or prove yourself to doubters. When God moves through you, results speak. Fruit speaks. Peace speaks. And if your life doesn't speak loud enough, no amount of talking will make up for it. So walk quietly. Move intentionally. Let your obedience do the talking. Walking in true power also means knowing when not to act. Not every battle is yours. Not every invitation is divine. Not every opportunity is a green light. Power is restraint. Power is knowing you could respond, but you don't. You could expose someone, but you remain silent. You could brag, but you let your character shine instead. This is not weakness, it is spiritual mastery. And perhaps one of the most important things to remember, power is not individualistic. If your journey only serves you, it's not purpose, it's pride. True power uplifts others. It heals. It delivers. It creates space for others to rise. If you are chosen for service. Not to dominate, but to liberate. Not to be worshipped, but to lead people back to the source. You must also understand this. The more power you carry, the more humility you will need. Because divine favor will put you in rooms you didn't expect, with influence you didn't seek, and with responsibility you didn't anticipate. And in those moments, you must remember that you are not the source. You are the vessel. The moment you start thinking it's about you, you lose alignment. Stay low. Stay grounded. Because humility is the container that holds power without spilling it. Walking in power, not pride, also means embracing anonymity when needed. God hides those he wants to use greatly. He develops you in the shadows before he reveals you in the light. And when the spotlight comes, if it ever does, you must have already decided, I am not my image. I am not my title. I am not the praise or the criticism. I am a servant. I am a vessel. I am on assignment. So what does walking in power look like, practically? It looks like showing up with excellence, even when no one is watching. It looks like praying in silence, trusting that heaven is listening. It looks like helping someone who can never repay you. It looks like honoring your assignment, even when it's uncomfortable, unpopular, or misunderstood. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it just shows up every single day without quitting. If you are chosen, remember this. Your power is not in your visibility. It's in your consistency. It's in your alignment. It's in your obedience. It's in your stillness when everything around you is loud. And most importantly, it's in your ability to keep walking even when no one claps, no one understands, and no one affirms. Because you are not moved by the world. You are moved by something higher. So walk in power, not to impress, not to dominate, but to illuminate, to heal, to restore, to fulfill what you were placed on this earth to do. Do it quietly if needed. Do it faithfully always. And never forget, those who truly carry the light never need to announce it.